Hello everyone and welcome to Real Talk with the Guilty Bear the Viking. Today we're gonna talk to Joe Schwartz, a regional sales person for 5% Nutrition and Ignite Nutrition. We're gonna talk with him about his life, about his company, about how he built his name in the industry, and a little bit about Joe Schwartz in general. So hope all of you will like this live stream. Tell all your friends and follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and help promote this show. So now I'm just gonna sit there and wait till Joe Schwartz come on. When he comes on, we're gonna start the show. And while I'm waiting, I'm gonna ask some people to join. Let's see if you see me now. It's because I'm asking people to join while I'm talking. Think that's enough to go and start. So I'm going to start with those people. And then when hello Joe, are you ready? The best thing with doing a live stream talk is we can start talking while we're waiting on people to come and watch the show. You just let me know when you're ready. You ready? Okay. Then I'm gonna find you here. Let's hope there's no problem with Norway and the US when it comes to live streaming. Hello, Joe.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, for you it's morning.
Yeah, for a little while still.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about how you get started in the industry.
That's a long answer. So starting in the industry, basically I would say it goes back to high school. I started exercising training because I played sports. Got addicted to the old school magazines, the Flex magazines, Muscle and Fitness, Iron Man, and between the magazines and falling in love with weights, it just became a maturation where I was always into the sciences as well too. And when I'm having a degree in biochemistry, led me to want to dig deeper into the nutritional side of things. It also doesn't hurt. I have a phobia of needles. So it really led me to try to figure out ways to get bigger, stronger, faster, especially since I was an undersized athlete.
Yeah. And how did you start with 5% Nutrition and being their sales rep?
So I was actually working on the natural health side for a while. I had left sports nutrition because I just felt it was dirty. There was a lot of bad stuff that was going on within the industry. I'd been part of it before and just didn't feel comfortable about being a part of it anymore. But I had gone to a trade show that was down in Orlando, and I was there with a cousin of mine who also works in the industry.
Yeah.
And he had seen the 5% booth, and he went over, talked to them. He was actually working for a specific brand at the time, so he had no ability to really do much with them. But he urged me to go over and meet with them and talk with them. I had hesitated, so forth, so on, and but went over to talk to them eventually, and realized that the line was legit. They showed me a lot of the assays on the products, and I felt really comfortable about working with the brand. And it wasn't too long after that we kept on the conversation, and eventually I came on originally as a broker, and then within the year I actually started just working directly with the brand itself on its own.
Yeah. And it's there are a lot of 5%ers still on the team. How many are there? Do you know that?
I really don't know who's still around. I know we don't have the numbers that we used to when Rich was still here. Um, but the ones that are still with us are the ones that have been the loyal ones. Shay, for example, over in the UK, he's still around. So, I mean, the group that I know of, that I talk to personally,
Yeah.
have been ones that pretty much have been around for a while.
Yeah, there's a couple of people I talk to still in the 5% team, like the Big Caleb and
Yep, Caleb.
some of the other
Great
people.
guy.
I talk a lot with Jens too, because he's Danish, so it's easy for me to talk to him, and he actually has some Norwegian family too.
Okay.
So he's easier to talk to for me in Norway than the rest of the world.
Yeah, a little bit closer. Helps.
Yeah. Have you been to FIBO?
Never been to FIBO. That's one of the ones I'd like to be able to make it out to. I've always seen pictures of FIBO. I know some brands that are over in Europe as well too, that I'd like to be able to go see them because they're not here in the U.S. Or they come over here to the U.S. here and there, but not often. And just like everybody else nowadays, through the miracle of Instagram, Facebook, I still get a chance to reach out to them and talk to them here and there, but don't see them that often. People would be a great experience to be able to see them too.
Yeah, when it opens up again, you better go there, because I've been there and it's epic. It's insane.
Well, I'd love to be able to make it back to Germany. Was there briefly to play a football game, got in and got out, so I didn't get a chance to stay.
I see Ray's asking about something here. If you want, you can read it yourself.
Yeah, how we determine how to launch product? That's a good question, because the one thing we've tried not to do is chase after the really sketchy, borderline raw materials.
Yeah.
So we don't follow along. If you've seen our pre-workouts, we don't have the DMAA, DMHA, which have been questionable here in the U.S. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's pretty much the same thing abroad.
Yeah.
So it does make it interesting sometimes, especially at least in the pre-workout category where everybody's looking for those raw materials, and we don't want to go down that route. And I can appreciate that myself. I'm not a stim junkie. I was in the past. Again, playing American football, I used to pound down ephedra like it was Pez candy.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sure I've done some kind of damage to my adrenals from that time period. But I would like to think I've recovered from that. But this is basically my stem, my morning coffee. And that's about it. Other than that, we try to keep true to what Rich wanted. We don't have a whey protein. Rich didn't believe in whey proteins. That's another reason why I actually fell in love with the brand. I felt that way for a while before that. Always thought food was the answer. But at the same time, too, I always thought whey protein was now an isolated nutrient, just almost pure protein with no other cofactors involved, which didn't really give it much purpose, but for post-workout recovery, and that was it. So from that perspective, that's another reason why I fell in love with the line, because with some of the products that we produced, some of the things we've tried to create, not only being ahead of the curve on certain aspects, but at the same time too, trying to keep true to as much as Rich's ideals and thoughts.
He had a list of plans, didn't he?
I'm sorry?
He had a list of plans, didn't he, before he died, like plans to give the company?
Oh, well, let's put it this way. We have more products that are coming out. I can't say what yet because I don't want to give anything away. There are a few other products that we have listed. One or two that I'm actually excited about because it falls more in line with my way of thinking as well, too. But the one I can talk about, because I know it's going to be coming out soon, we're going to have an all-day you made natty.
Yeah.
Which is going to be really nice.
I'm good friends with Jay Gold and Sandra from Norway,
Oh
former
yeah.
5%ers. Yeah. So it's amazing to have some Norwegians that actually has been on the team. For us Norwegians, that's a big deal to be a part of Rich Piano's team.
Well, I think that Viking concept and culture kind of falls in line with what people think 5%ers are in a way, where
Yeah.
that's another thing I've always appreciated is the concept of 5%. Everybody thinks it's more of a lifting thing. Everybody thinks it's more of a um, gym
Yeah.
concept. And really, when you dig down to it, and we've had this conversation multiple times amongst ourselves with other people, the 5% is a mentality that has to do with everything and anything. It just really
Yeah.
depends what your passion is.
The only thing I miss with the 5% is clothing for the kids, because the supporters want to give their kids clothing with the 5% logos, just like they
But
have themselves.
well, I can't remember who was it that was on the team at the time that had just had a child, and we were talking about having like onesies for kids.
Yeah, because Martin Forrest been a part of the team, and he got a kid while he was a part of the team, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think the conversation we had was before he had his child,
Yeah,
but I'm not sure.
I never met him, but I met Jens, and I met what do you call himself? 5%. Oh, yeah, the person in the UK.
Oh,
He's
Shay.
really nice. Yeah, Shay. He asked me to take a photo when I met him in the FIBO Expo.
Shay's a great guy. I was able to spend some time with him out at the Arnold.
Yeah,
Um, he still owes me a training session. That's one of the things that we had talked about wanting to do while we were all still together. And him and I never made it to the gym. The hotel we stayed at was right near that powerhouse
yeah,
downtown in Columbus. And that's a madhouse. Everybody goes there to either take pictures or take videos, and trying to get on a machine or trying to get any kind of real workout in is ridiculous unless you're in there like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And there literally will be people there paying just to see guys train. And I don't know, that's just never been me. I've met a lot of great guys over the years, professionals, top amateurs. It doesn't interest me to sit there and watch somebody train. I'd be more likely to say, get out of the way, let me get in,
yeah.
more so than just sit there and just be a fanboy and watch. But that's the one thing I'm looking forward to when Shay can come back over to the States. And he owes me an arm session.
Yeah, he's a really nice person. I talked a lot with him, so I'm just bad with names.
That's why I usually have my name on my shirt so I know who I am half the time.
Yeah. But you have your own supplement shop, don't you? Selling supplements?
So I recently bought into a store, yeah. Part of my background is I ran vitamin shops over here in the United States for about 7 years and was very good at it. So the opportunity came, a friend of mine who actually owned the store was ready to just shut the building down, and he was going to just walk away. So had a conversation with him, came up with an agreeable price. And so this past winter, myself and another person from the industry took over the store. And so we've had it running on our own since about February of this year.
Yeah. And how many years now you've been working with 5%?
Going on 4 years? Yeah, because it was about a year before Rich passed away is when I came on.
Yeah. Do you have any kids, a wife, or are you just living alone?
No, my wife is so what we say is I have one wife, one daughter, and a bunch of four-legged kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a grown daughter. She works, actually very proud of her. She works for Disney full time, She works for the cruise line at the main
Cool.
offices, and she worked her way up through that. And the wife's still enjoying her morning snooze. So
Yeah, that I understand. It's early in the morning for you now.
no, I'm usually up by this time. My normal routine, especially lately, has been usually getting up around 5:30, 6 o'clock, so I can get some cardio in.
Yeah,
Now, I just recently turned 48 this year, so my biggest thing now is I have to get rid of the mentality of being that former football player
yeah,
and stop worrying about just pure strength and size. I'm currently about 5'10", around. I didn't weigh myself at the gym last night, so I'm probably around 290. And at 48 and 290, not necessarily a great weight. I'm strong. I can, no, I always say I could, bench press a Buick if I needed to. But the reality of it is I need to get back down to a more reasonable weight, especially for my age. So the one good thing, again, having a lot of good friends in the industry. A good friend of mine is a Masters IFBB Pro, so I've been working with him, helping him a little bit because he's going to be doing. He was going to do 2 shows this year, but he's come to the conclusion that he's going to only really train for shows for 1 or 2 more years, and then he's going to call it quits.
Oh,
So it's a little bit of I'm helping him a little bit with some of his weaknesses, which are my strengths, thighs and back. And he's gonna return, help me get more into the mentality of training a little bit more like a bodybuilder and getting away from
yeah.
being more the athlete football player.
You should do strongman. You look like one of the strongman boys.
I've done some strongman too. The problem is being 5'10" compared to the guys that are 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah.
They have a little bit of length on me, which helps tremendously. And I've met a bunch of those guys too, and they're great. That's a great side of the industry as well. Strongman, strongman powerlifting doesn't necessarily get enough, I think, credit here in the United States compared to abroad. Especially, the Norwegian countries. I think you guys really grasp to strongman powerlifting more than we do here in the States.
Yeah, we love our strongman.
Yeah. No, and I've had the pleasure of talking to and meeting guys like Bill Kazmaier over the years, Brian Shaw, Zydrunas Savinkus. Eddie actually met Eddie. What was it last Arnold, because him and Martin Ford are good friends, so he hung out at the booth with us. Had a chance to really talk to him. He's a character. So was lucky enough to meet a lot of those guys too.
Have you ever met Odd Haugen?
No, you know what? He's somebody who I'd love to be able to get a chance to meet. Obviously, he's a icon in the industry, and he'd be somebody who I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet.
He's a good friend of Ray.
Yeah, I know. I know he's helped Ray do a lot of the competitions, and I've yet to actually get out to one of Ray's competitions. I was going to try to make it down to. He had the one I think was in Alabama.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, and things just didn't pan out for me. I had too much other business I had to take care of. Between Eddie and Halfore, that's a good question. I think Halfore has the length. If I remember correctly, though, I think Eddie actually did have a background in boxing before all this, so he might have the leg up on the fight. I think Eddie has a mean streak. Well, I don't know if Halfore really has that mean streak. So that's another thing I think is something to take into consideration. I've seen actually a few of the videos of Eddie training for boxing. I haven't seen Halford do any training for boxing, so I don't know what he's doing. So if I had to make a guess right now, I'd probably say Eddie.
Yeah. And like Ray asked earlier, do you know what the meaning was with the 5% brand? Was it just marketing, or was it a vision Rich had?
No, it was really something that Rich believed in. It wasn't just a marketing ploy. And the reason why I would say that is, truth is actually, you mentioned Caleb. I don't know if you know Caleb's story, but Rich had a lot to do with Caleb's success
Yeah.
outside our industry and with what he does. Motivated him, gave him a lot of insight, and um, really, again, pushed that concept of what a 5%er is with
Yeah.
him. And and Caleb's in a great position now. I know he gets to, has his own business and he's expanded over the years. Actually, I haven't talked to him recently. I think I remember last time I talked to him, he mentioned something about expanding out to another state.
Yeah.
I'm not positive about that for sure, but yeah, I mean, he's the perfect example of why, I know it's not just a marketing ploy. It's something that Rich really believed in.
He's what Rich called a businessman.
Oh, yeah. Well, Rich was a businessman.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of things that people thought of Rich as just being, another bodybuilder. They didn't realize that he had other aspects of interest when it came to business. So it wasn't just the supplement line. There was a lot more to him than what that was.
Yeah, his oldest videos was with him showing people how he did real estate and stuff. I remember.
He used to do some daytime trading. Yeah, so I mean, he was a lot more diverse.
Yeah.
Than just being a big bodybuilder.
Did you talk a lot with Rich when he was alive?
No, it's one of those things where, in hindsight, I wish I would take more opportunities to reach out to him. Now, I have two, the one funny story in particular was when I first came on with 5%. It was right before the Arnold that he passed away.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I'd been around the team. I'd been at the booth. I was there kind of unofficially with 5%. So long and short of it is that the sales director at the time brought me behind the booth. He's like, wait for the line to cut down a little bit, which was never going to happen because the lines were always miles long.
Yeah.
But and they introduced me to a couple of the other guys like Paulo and Drew and so long and short of it is, finally got a second. He came over, talked to me real quick, and he's like, "So is there anything I can do to help to make it, with the brand?" And I jokingly looked at him and said, "So is that line for you?" He looked at me like I was stupid. I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, then get back to work and make me money."
That's a great thing.
And I'm not sure if you know what the different demographics of the United States are, but I'm from the East Coast, the Northeast, so we're very sarcastic. And I think Rich appreciated that a little bit, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if he was going to backhand me.
Yeah, some people can take it the wrong way, but I think some people like him would understand that it was a joke and you're just being funny. That's the difference between people.
But yeah, I that's definitely one of the things. I wish I had a chance to not even pick Rich's brain from the perspective of training.
Yeah.
I think we all have and still have the opportunity to pull up his old videos and really get an understanding what his training style or his regimens were really like. Would like to pick his brain more about what he really thought as far as like the dynamic of the industry itself. No, it was definitely more industry related, more so than gym related.
Yeah, he had a lot of stuff. He was smart. I believe it was really smart, but people didn't see the smartness. They just see the funny part and him lifting weights. But he was a smart guy too. He had a lot of smart stuff to talk about if people just listened.
Oh, yeah. Not all his videos, again, were about lifting and nutrition. I mean, he did go into, what a 5%er was, whether you wanted to be the best dad in the world, like Ray, or, the best, day trader, the best whatever. And he talked a lot about that kind of stuff too. And I think when people wanted to listen, they learned something.
Yeah.
If they're again willing to accept the fact that this guy was more than just a 300-pound bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Uh, Ray, no, I got to 435 before my left shoulder went out. Took about a month and a half to recover, and then I got to about 440, and then the right shoulder went. So I have not touched a actual straight barbell since late May. So Ray and I had a bet.
Yeah.
Which one of us could hit 500 first for the first time in a long time. I've done over 500 once before, but I have really bad shoulders now. Between playing football, heavy lifting, trying to power lift and strongman, it's the one thing that probably took the most damage from me playing all those years of American football. So, yeah, I have to be really ginger with my shoulders. Again, talking about training with my buddy, getting away from shoulder pressing,
Yeah.
getting away from that mentality of lifting heavy, lifting big, worry more about things like time under tension, isolation. Shoulders are definitely not a weak body part for me as far as from like a physique standpoint. So I don't need to do a whole lot more pressing. And I get enough pressing from chest and a lot of rear delt from back. I still deadlift pretty heavy. Not as heavy as I used to, but still relatively heavier than probably the average person. So enough rear delt from that. So really it's become more of on shoulder days being more isolation more than anything else.
Do you drink apple cider vinegar?
So I saw that you mentioned that the other day. I do shots of apple cider vinegar. I've actually gone to the tablets a little bit more just because of the acidity and worried about enamel erosion.
Yeah.
The teeth. But yeah, I'm a big fan of apple cider vinegar. This is where the natural health side of me comes in a little bit. Because natural health and bodybuilding and sports nutrition go in hand. And really, if you don't have the natural health side first, if you don't have the basic health, you're never going to maximize on the bodybuilding part or the physique part. So definitely am a big fan of, one of the brands I used to work for as an advisor and formulator, we used to talk about the 5 pillars of health, multivitamin, fish oil, additional vitamin D, magnesium, and then one of the antioxidants, which I flip-flop between CoQ10 and lipoic acid as being my choices. And then there's things I take on top of that, like especially with everything that's going on now, I take additional vitamin C, higher doses of zinc, a really good probiotic that I rotate on a regular basis. And then things get a little more specialized. MSM for my shoulders and for my ligaments and tendon health. I'm just trying to go through my cabinet. Remember what I actually have up there, what I take every day. It could get to be daunting.
And what's your best advice for new lifters?
Stop maxing out every day. So one of the things is, one of the great benefits of doing what I do is I get to go train at a lot of great gyms.
Yeah.
Depending on where I'm going and, being up here in the Northeast, I have a lot of great gyms I can go train at when I want to. But, I have my local gym that I go to. I used to be their their personal training director. So I still know a lot of people there. And I see kids go into the gym, and I see these same kids every week maxing out on their bench or maxing out. They just max out on bench. I don't see them ever squat. I don't see them do any other little compound movements. And every once in a while, I'll go up and I'll say something to them, and it usually falls on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll get a kid who's really interested. I had one kid in particular that started following me around. Ask me question after question after question. And look, I don't mind because I had some great people teach me over the years.
Yeah.
Never asked me for a dime. Just freely provided information. And I think in a way it's partly my duty to do the same thing back for people, especially young kids.
Yeah.
No, I just remember guys like I don't know if you remember Mike Menser. So he's actually from Pennsylvania originally. Long story short, I had gone on a phone call with him from a business perspective. One of the brands I was working for, I wanted to try bringing him on as a spokesperson.
Yeah.
And as soon as he heard my Philadelphia accent, he's like, "You're from the East Coast, aren't you?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I live in Philadelphia." And he started talking about things back home here and started asking me about questions about my training and everything else. And before I know it, he was basically writing me out a program and telling me to give him a call in a week. And then he's just talking about every 10 to 14 days. He would ask about my training and stuff like that. And myself and my cousin, who used to be my training partner. And so it's just guys like him who just, obviously Mike was a big name in the industry. Really should have been the 1980 Mr. Olympia. Lots of controversy behind that. But never asked for a dime. Never asked me to pay him something for training. Never asked me for anything. Just, I think in a way he wanted more people to fall in line with the high intensity principles, the HIIT training. And I would say it did benefit me somewhat. At the same time, it was a detriment because he had trained to be a bodybuilder, and training his style of muscle building isn't really conducive to sports. So I got stronger. I put some size on, but I didn't have the muscle endurance that I really needed for sports. But doesn't mean I still didn't learn a lot. Really actually did add a few things. The one thing I learned from him more than anything else is you don't need to be benched. You don't have to bench in order to get bigger and stronger. I mean, one of the biggest things he was behind was weighted dips.
Yeah.
And he'd rather see guys do weighted dips more so than worry about bench pressing.
Yeah. And what do you think about all natural lifting versus people that use steroids? What's the benefits with people that lift natural?
So, look, I have nothing against guys that want to use anabolic steroids.
Same for me.
One of my backgrounds is I do have a little bit of a background in hormone therapy, so it's not like, well, let me change that. I've been around long enough, and I've talked to enough guys, everything else, where I'm well versed enough into the different aspects of the PEDs in the sports.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is, if you're going to be natural, be natural, and if you're going to cheat, then it's wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be in, the bigger organizations where there is no rules or regulations against it, look, to some aspect, it's your life, it's your decision to make.
Yeah, that's great.
And my biggest problem is more with the abuse, not so much the use.
Yeah.
And going back to we were talking about earlier with kids, if there's one thing I'd like to get some of these younger kids or adults to do is stop worrying about getting so big right away. You're not going to look like this guy's in the magazines overnight. It's not going to happen. It takes time. Again, another gentleman who I used to know, a young kid, used to follow me around, ask me questions, stuff like that. I'd help him out, and so I hadn't trained at that gym for a while. Actually, at that time, I had moved down to Florida for a few years to work for a natural health company, Life Extension. And I came back, and this kid's blown up. I mean, he went from like about $185 to like 235, 240.
Yeah.
and just started talking like, dude, what are you doing, so forth, so on. And he was only 20 at the time, and he starts telling me this litany of gear that he's on. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? First of all, how much money are you spending? How are you getting this money? Because I know where you work. You can't you can't be making that kind of money. Um, and yeah, he looked great, but at the same time too, he had a lot of other deficiencies. You know, and I was really worried about how much stuff he was on. I mean, again,
Yeah.
if it was just a little bit of tests, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, no, that'd be one thing. I mean, he was stacking one thing on top of another. He was 3 or 4 anabolics, and I basically pulled him aside. I'm like, dude, you gotta stop. It has to come to an end. This isn't good for you. Um, and no, he didn't listen. And again, the kid disappeared for a little while. I didn't see him. I guess it was like another 2 years later. So he was actually been like 22, 23 at the time. Completely shrunk. Was smaller than he had ever been before. And he walked up to me at a local convenience store. I didn't even recognize him at first because how much he shrunk. And it
Yeah.
really came down to, he ran into some trouble. He couldn't lift. He couldn't afford his gear, so forth, so on. And it came down to like he had to stop. And he was talking about how he's going to start lifting again, and he started using all this other stuff again. I'm like, dude, did you not learn your lesson from before? Well, you had a nice physique when you were starting off at that 190 range. Um, and you were 20 at the time, and then you blow up, and now after it's all said and done, I mean, what do you weigh? 175 pounds? And he's like, yeah, around that. So, I wish some of these younger kids would realize it's not an overnight thing. It's not instantaneous. I mean, I didn't get over a 7 squat and deadlift overnight. I didn't
Yeah.
hit that until my later 30s, and this is after a football career, um, or training for football until I was 34. Um, you're seeing guys that are now turning pro in their late 30s and 40s. I guess what Dexter Jackson's 50 now, and he's
Yeah.
still competing. So it's not overnight, and it's one of these things where everybody wants instantaneous results, and it's I jokingly say if it was that simple, it was that easy, I'd probably be built more like the Incredible Hulk or the Thing, more so than what I'm built like now. It's because if it was that easy to put on muscle, I've been trained since I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 48, so without doing the math, that's a lot of years of training and lifting. It should have been just packed on. Yeah, but it's not that easy, and I wish some of these younger kids that I see would come to that realization.
Yeah, and it's a lot about the DNA too, isn't it? When it
Oh,
comes
genetics.
to
Oh yeah, genetics plays a huge, huge role. I mean, I come from a family of athletes. My dad was an athlete. My brother's an athlete. My grandfather was an athlete. So if it wasn't in our physical DNA, it was at least in our mental DNA to be competitive. My brother and I are the perfect example. We're the total opposites. Um, we both played American football, but I was a lineman and linebacker. He was a tailback and a defensive back. We both wrestled. I was a heavyweight. He wrestled 135. We both played baseball, but I was a catcher, third baseman. He was a shortstop, center fielder. I hit for power. He hit for average. So it actually made it fun competing. Well, I think it was more competition for him. I never saw him as competition because he was so much 3 years younger than me. But yeah, there's a mentality to it, and I think certain aspects of mentality can make up for genetic flaws.
yeah.
But yeah, you let's put it this way: you can't teach 6'8", 400 pounds like like a half bore or or some of those guys. That's just no, that's just genetics. 5'10", 5'10", 290 is not going to do well against 6'9", 400 some odd pounds. So
I'm almost 2 meters tall and I weigh about 90 kilograms, so I know how it is.
yeah, and I was always a big kid. I'm what I would consider to be a true endomorph. So obviously I put on size quick, which is both muscle and fat, which is fine, and that's what made me good for some aspects I played. It's also a reason why I would be a terrible bodybuilder. I have a very broad waist. Some of it's due to all the years of training and the type of training I've done. With heavy squats and heavy deadlifts and power cleans and snatches and but it made me good what I was good at. At the same time, for me to put on little speedos and get up on stage, well, it would almost kill me just to lose enough body fat to do that. Let alone I would look terrible because I have such a broad waist. I just don't have the genetic look. He thought, okay, the chunky kid from Stand By Me. That's cute, Ray.
But Ray's not afraid of going with a tanga on him.
No. Trust me, I know Ray's game. Ray would fit well out here on the East Coast. Well, Ray, weren't you from Jersey or weren't you from the East Coast originally? If I remember correctly, I remember you said you were coming out to Jersey the one time. Yeah, look, if there's somebody who I say I look like is Michael Chiklis, the guy who played Thing in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
No, I was told I actually look like the Thing, which I thought was funny.
You actually look like him, I will say, but not.
Well, look, I have a block head. It's the German in me. What can I say?
Oh yeah, German.
Yeah, I'm German and Italian.
Oh.
So, hence Schwartz.
Yeah, I was thinking about that name. It felt a little bit German every time I see it.
Yeah, no, we're from the Black Forest. We're not sure if we got the name from the forest or if the forest got the name from us.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about my genealogy. I know a little bit about the family history. There is a family crest that I was able to find. And the funny thing is there's actually 3 spellings of my name that are all correct. So there's my spelling, there's the Swartz, and then there's the Schwartz without the T. And apparently all 3 are the same family, and it came down to actually who went where. Apparently we were the travelers. We were the we were the spice dealers. We were the ones that would go to the Middle East. We were the ones that would travel around. A good amount of my family apparently went to through the 2 Crusades, stayed in the Middle East. There's a whole line of my family that goes by the last name of Black. They moved to England and stayed in England, and then changed their name to Black. So there's a whole bunch of them there. But my spelling apparently was the part of the family that used to travel to the Middle East.
Yeah.
And that's how actually it got intertwined with the Jewish culture.
But it looks like Rich liked German people, because Maverick One Half is also German.
Hey, there's a lot of good, strong Germans.
Yeah, but it's a little bit funny, because I didn't know that about Maverick either, but now I know he has some German blood. So it looks like Rich liked some German people. And you have Don Andrea from Germany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we had, I don't remember all of our athletes that were over in Europe, but I know we had quite, I know there was 1 or 2 that were German. I thought a lot more UK and Northern Europe.
Yeah, it was only 2 in Norway, was Sandra and Jay.
Yeah.
The couple. They're still together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Jay stopped using steroids and starting to talk to people about steroids instead. Started helping kids.
Yeah, like I said, my biggest thing when it comes to that aspect of the business, like I said, I have no problems with it. When you do it right, it can be safe. My biggest thing is I really don't think anybody should touch them until they're about 24,
Yeah.
25. I don't think you can get to your maximum potential, your foundation until that point. And the longer you wait, the bigger the foundation you make, the bigger you're going to be able to get because you have all that developed muscle at that time. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I see kids. I mean, it's obvious who are the ones that are doing anabolics, and
Yeah.
You can only say so much. But it's one thing when they're doing it the right way, and they have somebody who is giving them good direction, and then it's something completely different when you know that they're just going out and grabbing whatever they can, and you know, I try to see what I can.
I'm one of those people from when I was younger. I just took the pills because I had problems with the syringes, just like you. But now I'm just working out all natural with supplements.
Yeah, I mean, I've never hide anything I've done in the past. I think that's another thing I liked what Rich did, and when I had a chance to make it into the NFL, I had a chance to make it onto our practice squad.
Yeah.
I got on for a little bit. I had to basically steel myself every time. Nothing too off the wall, just basically testosterone, Anavar.
Yeah.
Now, I'm definitely a big fan of SARMs. I do use SARMs. I've seen great results with them. In particular, the one I think does help with my shoulders a little bit. I definitely feel better. And again, looking into some of the research, I know there's not a lot of great clinicals, but there are still clinicals out there that you can use as guidelines. And to some extent now, they've been around long enough and people have used them enough that there's at least enough anecdotal evidence to show their benefits and or their negative aspects. So Ray's asking about if we're ever going to get into the CBD portion of the industry. Ray, probably not. Even though I am a big fan of CBDs, I think we've had this conversation before. I started researching them because of my concern for my cognitive health from all these years of playing football. But again, I think that falls in line with that borderline, raw material that we don't necessarily want to get behind. So, I mean, I would love to see a pre-workout CBD. I've actually done a CBD version, a CBD powder as part of a pre-workout that is good for vasodilation. And I think there's one or two companies that have tried putting it in there. It's just never really gotten that really that great publicity from a sports nutrition side.
We used it in Norway, but now we can't use it because a little bit of cannabis did in it. So we can just get jail time just to send for it from the States.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's just stupid.
Well, look, I the EU and some of the rules and regulations versus here in the States. For example, I don't know if it's across the board in all the countries in Europe. But I know, like in England at least, you could have personal levels of anabolics, and there's no issue with that. Here in the United States, it would still consider to be illegal, and you could still be arrested for it. But then at the same time, over in the EU, you have to get a prescription for vitamin C, and we can just pull it off the shelf. So
in Norway, it's jail time for steroids. That's just how it is.
There's worse things that you can go after. There's more important things I think you can go after. And here in the United States, you tend to do it. I don't know if it's like over there like it is here. It's obviously one of those things that, for the most part, I don't want to say they turn a blind eye to it, but it's not something they aggressively go after.
Yeah.
Um, you hear once in a blue moon somebody getting nailed. It's usually one of the higher end
Yeah.
um, guys. It's not somebody at the low level. And usually, I think it's more the case because they've done something to make it, you know, stand out, or they just want to make an example of somebody real quick and try to, knock it down a little bit. But
We have difficult rules in Norway because I know 5% can't get everything into Norway. Some of
no,
the supplements are too strong for the Norwegian market, or you have to change the ingredients just to get it here.
yeah. So I mean, there are products that we have that are altered for the European market versus here in the
Yeah,
United States. One of the things I've been asked about is the new 5150 that you guys have over in Europe, and
yeah,
and we get it. And I've had to tell people, look, realistically, this is something we're doing for the European market because they never get anything special.
yeah,
So it was really nice to be able to give the European market something for themselves, something that was special. And but yeah, I do know that 5150 is one of those products that what we have in the United States versus what you have in Europe are two different formulas.
yeah. But
Um,
it's heavy, the 5150 you have in the States, because I tried it, because I got it from Denmark once, and it works.
See, and I usually don't go that heavy stem. The highest one that we have that I use is our Kill It Reloaded.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I pretty much stick with the full as fuck. Again, trying to get away from that athlete football player mentality of you know training just uh, explosively, trying to get back to being a little bit more getting a little bit more aesthetic, getting some size down. Again, for me, I think a reasonable weight is at 240 mark. I know I'll never be under 200. It's going to take 3 years of me being dead and buried before I get under 200. So um, I've always been. I mean, I've been over 200 pounds since I was in 10th grade.
yeah.
So it's been a lot of years before I've even seen anything under 200, and I just don't know if I'd feel good. I've got down to like 215 once, and it felt terrible. I was tired, lethargic, ached. It just didn't work for me.
Do you know if 5% has their own lab to make the supplements, or do
No,
they pay people to make it for them?
so just about everybody in the industry works with contract manufacturers.
Yeah,
Um, there's only a small handful of brands that have their own labs.
yeah,
Um, to some extent, those who can do it, great. Here in the States, we have a company called NutriBio that does
yeah,
do majority of their own stuff. Um, but yeah, just about everybody uses a contract manufacturer, and it's one of those things where, um, to some extent, some of the really big companies, it helps that they have more than one contract manufacturer they can work with,
yeah,
because then if it needs to be shipped to another part of the country, it's just a lot easier.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, almost everybody uses contract manufacturing. Very, very few. I could probably think of only like three or four that really have their own labs. Universal Animal is actually another one I could think of that has their own facilities. They're really far and few between.
Alex Ardenti helped me with some contact info because I'm starting my own supplement brand in the future with J Gold.
Okay,
So we're just waiting for some stuff, and then we're going to start up. So Alex gave me some info about people that can make it for us.
so you looking to make it here in the States
Yeah,
or over in Europe? Yeah, look, I mean, just around where I live, I know of, I think, at least three contract manufacturers.
yeah,
Yeah, this is just Pennsylvania, Jersey, and New York. There's a lot more down Florida. There's a lot more California. Obviously, there's a lot more. Um, and look, some have their pros and cons. Some are just better at certain things than others.
yeah.
What it really comes down to, and I like to think of myself as a bit of a formulator. I've done stuff on the natural health side, and I have ideas. I like to eventually implement of my own sometime, but yeah. There's one thing I'm probably a pain about is I really pick apart ingredient profiles.
Yeah.
And look, some of it's more based upon what I know works for me. It might not necessarily be with everybody, but it helps when you know what works for you, and when you can find those things in the dosages that you need and everything else. Great. Again, going back to my own product line, 5150 I don't bother with. It's too high stim for me. It doesn't work for me. Well, it isn't that it doesn't work for me. I shouldn't say that. It doesn't work for the style of training and what I'm trying to provide my body. And I'm very sensitive now towards how I use stim products.
Yeah.
Where on the opposite side, the full as fuck is phenomenal for me. I get great pumps from it. I add nootropics to it to help with focus concentration. But again, for other people, it could be the other way around. And again, there's guys I know that are powerlifters. I suggest that you use something like the 5150 those couple of weeks before their meets to really help with that adrenal output. But to be used very sporadically in short periods, not constantly.
For me, 5150 was almost like legal cocaine, so I had to stop.
Yeah, you're not the only one that said that. The other thing too is you can get away with more of that when you take care of things on the back end. Support your adrenals, vitamin C, B6, B12, your adaptogens like rhodiola, ashwagandha, astragalus, CoQ10, magnesium. You can get away with that more. But again, how many people, my biggest thing is how many people are actually doing that kind of thing, are thinking about, okay, if I'm creating a response on one side, what am I going to do on the backside to counterbalance that?
Yeah. I have to say, beside 5% supplements, I like G codes and Chaos Nutrition actually. And I like Set Forge products. They're great. And GIFD Labs from Jerry. He sent me a lot of stuff, so I like that stuff too.
So I'm good friends with the guys over at G Code. I see those guys on a regular basis. Greg's a friend of mine. We talk on a regular basis. His new feast is really good, especially the strawberry. Definitely have used that more than enough times. The new strawberry is phenomenal. Jerry, I liked his non-stim fat burner. I liked how he formulated that. And look, there's a lot of great brands out there. It really just depends on who you are, what you need. I like to think that 5% is one of those great brands. Now, at the same time, we're all different. We all have different body chemistries. We're obviously, again, genetically all different. So certain formulations might work for other people better than others. So it's not a matter of there's only one or two great brands. I like to think 5% is one of those few great brands. But reality is, there's other really good ones out there too. So I try different ones. I use different ones at times, just depending on, again, what I'm doing. It also helps to try them just so I know what I'm competing against in the marketplace. And then of course, then there's things that other brands have that we don't have. So, we don't have a whey protein. And I agree with it. I don't really want us to have a whey protein.
Yeah.
But I do agree that whey protein for post-workout recovery is not necessarily a bad thing when it's done the right way. So I will, grab a whey protein here and there and try different ones.
We're almost done with our live stream now.
Oh, wow.
It's too bad, but just want to thank you for being on with Guilty Bear the Viking on Real Talk and talking a little bit about yourself. It's been great talking to you, and for the first time talking to you face to face.
Yeah.
So I hope
Yeah.
all you have a great day.